Howdy everybody. So I've been keeping busy. I contacted the dealership on that Peterbilt 579. Did electronic signature, agreed to purchase it. I can back out of it if I want to, but it's more of an intention letter than anything else. It's a letter that says I intend to buy it at a certain price. And I negotiated for $4,000 off. So it was $79,900. I got it down to $75,900. And I did that by doing some research on truckpaper.com, and I could find a similar truck, similar miles, same model, same year, similar miles for $74,900. So they negotiated down to $75,900. That's close enough. Now I'm having them put on a grill guard and the extended warranty. It's a Cummins Encore warranty. It goes up to 750,000 miles. And a red oval certification, which is like a 150-point inspection. And it also provides warranty protection on frame components. So the two warranties combined, almost everything on that truck would be under warranty. Almost everything. So, that was really attractive to me. So I think out the door, my cost is probably going to be between, I'm going to guess between 85 and 90,000 for that. And interest, we haven't discussed the interest rate yet for financing, but it should, I'm going to be putting $20,000 down. So that's more than 20% of the cost. So I should get the best rate because my credit score is over 800. So I'm thinking 7 or less would be acceptable. If we get above 7, then I'm going to have to negotiate on that. but I think we're in the ballpark. So we're probably looking at 85,000 to 90,000 out the door with 7% or less interest on the loan, and the loan should be around $65,000 to $70,000, 3 years, 36 months, which would be right around $2,000 a month. And what's interesting about that is that when you put 18 cents per mile into a required maintenance account for like a Crete truck purchase program, and additional 5 cents in for a voluntary maintenance account, that's 23 cents per mile. Let's say you do 10,000 miles for the month. Well, 23 cents times 10,000 is 2,300. So what the money would go into my maintenance account is actually going to be making my truck payment. Isn't that wild? And because of the warranty, the Cummins warranty and the red oval certification, there should be very little out-of-pocket maintenance expense for me. So most everything will be under warranty, all the way up to 750,000 miles. So this is why I wasn't going to hesitate to buy the truck. The Cummins X15 engine has brand new virgin tires. They're Yokohama tires. I looked it up. They're Japanese, and they're a direct competitor to Michelin. I wanted a Michelin. But these are direct competitors, so that's like close enough. And they're made in the U.S., which is surprising, even though they're a Japanese company. But they're rated neck and neck with Michelin. So I just wanted to make sure they weren't Chinese tires. I wouldn't buy them if they were Chinese tires. Japanese tires, that's okay. Japanese are known for high quality. So when we compare and contrast the differences between purchasing a Freightliner from Crete versus buying this Peterbilt from the dealership, it's really no competition. I'll just look at the Freightliner I looked at, Marietta, was $79,900. Okay, I'm getting this Peterbilt for $75,900, so $4,000 savings on the Peterbilt. The Cascadia had 385,000 miles. This Peterbilt has 350,000 miles. So another plus for the Peterbilt. The Cascadia did not have an APU. The Peterbilt comes with a Thermo King tri-pack APU. Big plus right there. The Cascadia had virgin retread tires. The Peterbilt has virgin brand new tires, not retread. Big plus there. The Cascadia, if you financed it through Crete, was going to be 10 to 11% APR in 30 months. I can get 7% or less through the dealer over 36 months. The Cascadia would have a required maintenance account and a speed limiter. The Peterbilt will not. So another plus for the Peterbilt. So when we do these comparisons, it's like the Peterbilt wins this comparison every time I turn around. So the Cascadia had a DD15. Peterbilt has a Cummins X15. Still a 15-liter engine. Still automatic. Still eating Fuller transmission. The Peterbilt has for guys who are interested, the rear axle ratio is 279, which I looked that up, and that's perfectly okay for a central region of the country. It's fine. You know, it's like the higher that number is, the more torque you would have, and which would apply towards a more mountainous terrain. The lower that ratio is, the more speed you'll have, which is more suitable for a flatter terrain. So if you had a low gear ratio but you're driving in the mountains, it's going to suck. You know, but you know, typically as an owner operator, I would haul light loads anyways, 30,000 pounds or less, so that gear ratio should be fine. You know, so when I look, you know, at the Cascadia and the Peterbilt, let's go back to the Cascadia that I looked at. Batteries were dead, had no fuel in it, had to be jump started. The fuel injectors were leaking, the brakes were questionable, and the side compartment door wouldn't open, and it had a big chip in the hood. Now I can tell you, you know, from the dealer, they've already inspected this truck. There's nothing wrong with this truck, and then it's going to get Red Oval certified, which means it's going to have a thorough inspection in order to get Red Oval certification. That's from Peterbilt, and the warranty is better. The warranty on the Peterbilt is better than the warranty on the Freightliner, surprisingly, because what happens with the Freightliner is that they will give you the extended warranty on the engine and the after treatment system, okay, but not the frame components. And one of the frame components is a radiator, which is made out of plastic, and it cracks regularly. It cracked on me on my last truck. I had to shell out $5,000. It's not under warranty. But having the Red Oval certified on the Pete gives me a warranty on that radiator and most of the frame components. You know, so the Red Oval certification and the Cummins warranty covers just about everything on that truck. You know, so the warranty is better on the Peterbilt than it is on the Freightliner. So, you know, the final cost of the Freightliner is $80,000. The final cost on the Peterbilt, by the time I pay for the grill guard and the warranties, is probably going to be $85,000 or $90,000. So $5,000 to $10,000 more for the Peterbilt, but look what you're getting. You're getting an APU, you're getting virgin tires, you're getting a grill guard. The Cascadia won't have a grill guard. You're getting a better warranty. You're getting less miles. You're getting a better interest rate on the loan. You know, you're not getting the stupid required maintenance account, and you won't get a speed limiter. So I think the bang for the buck is on the Peterbilt. That's why I went ahead and signed for it today. Now that's just an agreement that I intend to buy it, you know, and the salesperson said if I test drive it and I don't like it, then they'll let me out of it. Not a problem, you know. But in order to hold the truck, I had to commit to the truck, you know, because I can't get up to where the truck is at, which is in Minnesota. I thought it was in Lincoln, but the truck is actually in Minnesota. I can't get up there until late Thursday afternoon, and then we'll test drive it. But I don't see any issues with it. See, the other thing is I'm without a truck right now. I mean, I'm in a company truck, but I'm not in an owner-operator truck. And there's a big difference in the earnings between owner-operator and company driver. So if I have a good week as a company driver, my earnings may be like $1,200 for the week. I'm only getting paid 63 cents per mile. But if I run as an owner-operator, then, you know, when I combine the money I'm saving for the maintenance account, it's going to be like $1.15 a mile. You know, so you can imagine, even on a 3,000 mile week, you know, you're probably going to get, you know, take home pay of $3,500 a week, maybe more, versus $1,200. You know, so I don't have, what I'm trying to get to is that by taking too long searching for a truck, once you decide you're going to buy a truck, then you're missing that opportunity to make that extra money. So you can assign a value to that. You know, so let's just say it was $3,200 versus $1,200. That's $2,000 a week extra that you're not making. You know, let's say it takes you 4 weeks to get your hands on a truck. Well, there's $8,000. So, you know, you could try to search and negotiate, but while you're doing all that, time is money. I think if you're in the ballpark, if you're pretty close and you're in the ballpark, then, you know, close the deal, get it done, you know, because the sooner you get into that owner-operator truck, the more money you're going to make. Now, if you're already in an owner-operator truck, you know, that's a different story. You know, then you can take your time shopping around. You know, but if you don't have an owner-operator truck, then time is money. You know, so I just wanted to get close. You know, so I got down the price down $4,000, and I was like, that's close. You know, could it be better? Sure, it could always be better, but that's close enough. Like I said, you could dick around for another 4 weeks, and it's going to cost me another $8,000 in lost opportunity, you know, costs. So as long as we're close, that's fine. It's close enough. And I've driven a Cummins before and a Kenworth, and it was okay. I don't expect it to be any different in a Peterbilt, you know, but I will adapt to the truck. I think the bang for the buck, you know, from everything I looked at on truckpaper.com is not Freightliner. Freightliner is one of the more expensive brands. It's not Peterbilt. Peterbilt's actually good value for the money. I think International is kind of on the low end of the totem pole here, you know, as far as you know, truck, you know, I don't know what you want to call it, reputation, truck reputation. International is probably on the low end of things. Then I would probably, from International, I'd probably go, boy, I tell you what, I've seen some, you know, crappy old Volvos, but some people like them. You know, I would say Kenworth T680. It's not that great, especially if it has a PACCAR. Same thing with Peterbilt and a T680. If they got the PACCAR engine, I would say I put them in that category too. And then from there, I think, you know, you start getting into some nicer trucks. You know, you start getting into the Cummins X15. Even the Volvos with the DD13, those are okay trucks. And then the Max, you know, they're in that ballpark too. Because Mac is part of Volvo. But from there, I would say Freightliner DD15 is the most common, most popular truck. And they're probably more expensive than all those other brands I just mentioned, because Freightliner keeps putting more and more technology into these trucks. More and more sensors, more and more safety features. And every time they do that, they jack the price up. More and more EPA compliance technology that jacks the price up. Is there, from a driver standpoint, is there much difference between a Freightliner and a Peterbilt and a Kenworth and a Mack? If they all haul the same freight, what's the big deal? If you're all getting 3,000 miles per week, what's the big deal? You're still productive. Did the Freightliner miles seem better if they're the same miles? Similar fuel mileage, both under warranty. I look at it from a business standpoint. Okay, I need a piece of equipment to haul up to 3,000 miles per week. I need it to be reliable. I need it to be under warranty, and I need it to be cost effective. Can you spend more money on a truck unnecessarily? And I think the answer to that is yes, you can. You can buy, like I said, a Freightliner Cascadia. It has all these extra bells and whistles, but you're going to pay for it. If you were to look for a Freightliner Cascadia with 350,000 miles on it, that truck is over 90,000. Guaranteed it's over 90,000. Without an APU or nothing. You put an APU on there and a grill guard, you're probably looking at a $100,000 truck. By comparison, you can get a Peterbilt for 10 or 15,000 less with all those same things. Why is there this difference between Peterbilt and Freightliner? I don't really know, other than Peterbilt is made in the USA and Freightliner is being assembled in Mexico. And with the tariff situation, you could be seeing a premium for the Freightliner because there's a tariff cost associated with it that Peterbilt doesn't have. Peterbilt doesn't have it. Mack doesn't have it. Kenworth doesn't have it. I don't know about international. Probably not. But Freightliner is part of Daimler North America. That means they make a lot of crap outside of the U.S. They make it in Canada and Mexico, and they take advantage of that NAFTA. And then Trump came along, and he put a stop to it. There's 25% tariff on it. And that could be a reason why the Freightliner prices are seemingly higher for a comparable truck. And I often think that, if Freightliner doesn't start making their trucks again in the U.S., if they don't start making their Cascadias again in the U.S., then I think fleets are going to be looking more at Peterbilt and Kenworth and getting away from Cascadia from a cost standpoint. It's like, look, these trucks are perfectly capable of hauling the same loads that Freightliner can for $10,000 to $20,000 less. Well, you take that $10,000 to $20,000 less times 1,000 trucks, that adds up. That's like a couple $100,000 difference. So I would think that because of the tariff situations, when fleets start rotating equipment in the coming years, I would not be totally surprised if Crete makes a pivot. Maybe buys more Kenworths, because they do buy Kenworths, more internationals, because they have bought internationals in the past, and maybe they'll even start looking at the Peterbilt 579s. Not because they necessarily want to, but because the cost difference is huge. Crete doesn't spend money unnecessarily, so if a Freightliner Cascadia is costing $20,000 more, I definitely see them switching to a different truck. in the coming years because of the tariff situation. So for me, as a owner operator and a buyer of equipment, and I compare a Crete truck versus this truck I'm buying from a dealer, the truck from the dealer is much better. And here's another thing. The salesperson at the dealership treats me like a customer. Crete treats you like an employee. They knew I was coming to look at that truck in Marietta. They didn't lift a finger to get that truck ready. If that truck was ready, I would have bought it. Truck was not ready. I didn't buy it. Instead, I found another truck, and now I got the salesperson bending over backwards. I mean, he cut the price by $4,000. He, is answering all my questions by text message or phone call, and we're going to get a better truck for a better price, better financing, better terms, better everything, better customer service than purchasing it from Crete. I don't think I'll ever purchase another truck from Crete. They're asking way too much for those Freightliner Cascadias, and the trucks aren't even in good condition. I mean, I wouldn't even recommend buying one. They put no effort in getting that truck ready. So maybe that's just Marietta. Maybe the truck in New Kingston may be better, but yeah, I'm not impressed by what I saw in Marietta. All right, guys, that's all I got for you. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on the internet.